of May
2022.
2022. No Gibbo tonight. Gibbo is actually on a health kick and looking after himself for once, which we applaud. There was too much Gibbo.
Yeah.
And Gibbo's doing the right thing by himself, so which is good. So every Tuesday for the next month, we're Gibbo-less.
Yeah, but he's killing it.
He's doing
the weight's coming off him.
Flying off him.
He's basically doing a spring renovation. Basically.
He is doing a spring renovation, scarifying his guts.
Yep, and he's just going to take it all to the dump.
Yes, good evening, Chris. New studio, we're downstairs. It's cold out the back and there's likely to rain again.
I'll take you through a run through. So we got pot plants, cool love ornaments.
Yep.
Man with baby.
Yep.
And what else can you see? Oh, the cube with bears.
And stepmom.
And stepmom.
Ashes.
Whoops.
No, not stepmom. Mother-in-law.
Mother-in-law ashes and just boxes with stuff. So.
G'day, Tyson. So yeah. That's
just in case.
This is the downstairs.
Just in case you're wondering what was in the background.
Yeah. That's it. All needs to be painted green. It does, but we rent, so I can't.
Orange is calming though. And Tuesday nights is supposed to be a calming vibe.
It is
in the Carpet Grass Club.
That is true.
You take off your shoes or your thongs and you walk on the lawn with barefoot.
That's the plan. I did a bit of stuff today. So today I got invited to Yates / Mums and they were talking about what they're going to do in spring and the marketing stuff sort of thing, which I tend to tune out of.
Yep.
But yeah, I was trying to. One of their really good points is get your lawn barefoot ready, basically.
Yep. Yep. And what kind of things were they thinking to do that?
Yeah, well, that's kind of why they're picking my brain a bit, I suppose.
Yeah, true.
I thought there's much better people in the organisation than me. Yeah, I think I just said to them, follow a plan, stick to a plan.
Yeah.
You can't fix these issues with lawns overnight. It's a process you got to go through. Buy yourself a Yates weed wand.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like,
very underrated tool, the Yates weed wand. Thank you very much.
I think what's crazy about a company like Yates is, and we were talking about it earlier today. Actually, we were saying that if you look at companies like real long-standing companies in that consumer side in lawns, I can think of a few that have hung around, but they've obviously changed hands.
Yep.
Like Victor is one of them, for mowers.
Yeah.
And as far as like products go, Yates is the other like really notable one.
Yeah, they are, but Munns as well is very well known down south, particularly in South Australia. They've been around forever.
Is it? It must be close to 100 years for Yates though, because they used to bring out the Yates Garden Guide.
Well, they were saying today they had some guy listening to the garden music album. They had a photo of some guy in the 1940s.
Yeah.
Listening to playing his plants, the garden music album that was the Yates product. And they said, we don't have a copy, but geez, we want to get one. I'm like, that'd be so good.
They'll just have to bring a new one out.
Just Spotify the hell out of that. How good would that be?
Massive. While they were listening to garden albums, I was watching sport on the weekend. How good was the Festival of the Boot on the weekend?
The Festival of the Boot, Magic Round was real good.
We had Magic
Punch
Round.
ups in the crowd again, which is uncool, but
uncool, but pretty 1990s, 1980s, 1990s football.
I remember when the Broncos first came in and they were playing at the old Lang Park, and mate and I, both West Tigers and Balmain back then.
Yeah.
Supporters, we went to watch Balmain play. We had to fight our way out of the place. Right, it's just a nightmare.
Oh, but it's such an amazing concept, Magic Round. Like it's I think any kind of double header of any sport is a great idea, but having like triple headers on the same day, and having 8 games in the same weekend at the same venue, it's an amazing thing from a a tourism and like bringing people into like the social hub of the city.
Yeah.
But it's a tough gig being the curator team there.
Yeah, Mal.
At Suncorp.
Mal Cadiz does an amazing job.
But you know, kudos to him because all weekend, even up to the very last game, it still played relatively well. And the commentary kept saying how good it was, and the players kept saying how good it was.
Considering the amount of water it had received in the week leading up to it. But
yeah.
I think, you know, I have heard that after the 2011 flood, they did change a lot of that infrastructure in there, like particularly the drainage, but they also moved a lot of the electrical components up well out of flood range. Yeah. Because, you know, well in February it went under again, and the next weekend they were playing.
Yeah, amazing.
So
it is it was just crazy the weekend of sport. You know, there was I'm a Bronx supporter, and it was just amazing. It was almost like a coming of age game for them. It was like being a Broncos supporter my whole life and seeing the Broncos through the 90s be such a powerhouse. Yeah. And it was almost like
they turned the corner, wasn't it?
They really showing signs of
self-belief more than anything.
Yeah. And I think, you know, having someone who's such a good player in Reynolds come to the club and just be so calm during game time. And then obviously I've seen footage of him at training. He's constantly educating people around him. Yeah.
It's a huge loss for South. They really dropped the ball letting him go.
I saw on the rugby league podcast that Gould and all that it's on. They were like, is he the biggest mistake in rugby league for South to let him go? And they were saying Gus Gould's like, he would make the quarterfinals at least. He's that decision.
Yeah, he's the biggest mistake, but he's the buy of the year.
Yeah. Oh, it's insane. You know, it's someone else's misfortune. Yeah. Has landed in the lap of the Broncos. So. Yeah. But yeah, some really good games. You know, the Parramatta game I thought was quite good.
Cowboys try against the Tigers.
That was amazing. Freakish. Tuilagi with the flick round behind his back.
When he was horizontal over.
He was getting tackled and he somehow sprung off his outside foot. Yeah. Amazing. It was all happening basically. And then there was other interesting games on all around the country. So, you know, there was some cracking AFL games on.
I didn't see any.
I watched a little bit on. I actually watched when Penrith started to run over the top of Storm. I actually turned it over and watched the Lions game. It was really interesting. Up until about half time, Adelaide were going like peg for peg with the Lions, and they went into the sheds and came out after half. And Lions just played a completely different style, and it's testament to like how well coached like some of those top teams are. Yeah. And how adaptive they are. So it was pretty impressive.
Okay. So the ping pong ball race. The balls are due here either tomorrow or the next day, according to the courier. I then have to go through and mark right on, and I think it's like 440 balls.
We have to make sure that the markings don't rub off and this and that as well.
Well, I ordered 500 balls.
Yep.
So there's a few mistakes we can make.
Yeah.
Squash them and chuck them away.
Yeah.
But yeah, a Sharpie should write on it and it'll be all right. But and then we've got to locate the slippery tip.
The slippery slide. I think there's a pretty good one actually near my house. I think it's long enough, and it's probably got the curry to make it happen, I reckon.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll check that out. G'day, Nelso. G'day, Luke. So, look, it's getting close. It's getting really close. Luke's been stripping the old Scotty down and prepping it for its bath in the sandblaster.
Wow.
So, yeah, then we just got to get the components together and work with whoever is the lucky winner to find out what colour they want.
It's so amazing.
Well, it's this 20-inch Scotty. It's the Scott Bonner Edger, and Benny Cameron's company has been so kind in throwing in a Makita blower and charger and battery. So
it's an amazing prize.
It's
really.
kind of like the complete package, isn't it?
Yeah. You don't need much else from I suppose the only other thing you need is a rotary. But, you know, like that is the complete package for a real mowing operator.
Yeah.
Amazing prize,
Yeah.
really.
We got another one. Well, we're announcing the winner of the Tahoma. Yeah, and look, thank you very much to Collins Tools at Morningside for chucking in the Makita gear. It's amazing. Go and see Benny. Tell him you're in the Fanatics and he'll look after you. Got some more comps coming up. We're announcing the winner of the New South Wales leg of the Tahoma Tour tonight.
New South Wales and ACT. So if you entered it, and if you haven't entered it,
too late.
Yeah.
We've
We've
already got
decided.
the winner.
We've decided, and it's awesome.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We'll read out their entry because we just thought it was so apt. The timing is excellent with the election this week, so that'll give you a little hint. If you go in and read the answers, you'll probably guess who's going
to win that.
Yeah.
And then we'll roll straight. We'll hook straight into Queensland. We'll start that tonight. I'll put another post up, and we'll roll that till I don't know mid next week maybe.
Yeah.
And then look straight after that. We've got another comp ready to go. That's it's a good one too.
There's
got $500 worth of stuff.
We got comps coming out our ears.
Yeah.
There's comps left, right, and centre. So the best time to be aware of the comps is actually on Tuesday nights on the Carpet Grass Club.
Yeah.
Because that's when you find out first, and if you get in early with a good entry.
Yeah. Well, also I spoke at that thing today. That we're going to do a comp with them.
Yeah. Right.
And we're they're just going to give me a budget and say go do something silly.
Nice.
Like a ping pong ball race or something. I can do that. I can do silly.
How good.
So g'day Neville. Where's Neville from? Brisbane.
Brizzy.
Oh, he works in the alcohol industry.
Nice. That sounds good.
Yeah.
We're looking for sponsors.
Do they do Staminate?
Gibbo's on a 6-week challenge, but when he's off it, he'll be looking for sponsor.
He'll be looking for the top and up, won't he? Gibbo's on a 6-week challenge, so you won't see Gibbo, and you won't recognise Gibbo when he's finished because he's slimming down in a big way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, when he did say he's doing a spring reno on his bod.
Yeah.
It's all happening.
So any questions, chuck them through. We had one popped up earlier in the thing I put up on the group. Getting rid of carpet grass from a mix of buffalo and Queensland blue. Currently they're pulling it out by hand. Maybe weed wand might help you, but you're still pulling it out by hand. There's really not a lot else you can do, is there?
People have dabbled with, but if you're pulling out a buffalo, it makes it hard. But people have dabbled with like your broadleaf herbicides, like dicamba and pramoxanil.
Yeah.
I have seen like repeat applications every 2 weeks. Just keep going at it. Will eventually knock the broadleaf carpet grass.
Yeah. But it's hard when you're doing it.
Yeah. And this time of year, it's probably not ideal as well because the turf's already pretty stressed and it is slowing down. Your best bet would be to actually wait till like September, October. Go to town with glypho, and then either sprig or plug in with your buffalo and blue cooch, however you see fit. You know, do your buffalo in your shadier areas.
Yeah.
And your Queensland blue in your sunnier areas, and it would create quite a nice kind of subtropical / tropical lawn, I'd say.
Yeah. Just embrace the carpet.
Yeah. It's nothing. Carpet is actually quite soft, which I do like about it. Sometimes too, it's interesting with carpet grass. It can be a bit of a soil indicator. Like it can give away some signs of what's happening underneath too. Like generally, you'll find carpet growing in areas that get wet feet. It'll be the last to leave an area that stays wet. So it could be like you can culturally control carpet by making your area drain better, and actually the blue cooch will take further in. It can be pH related, so it can be quite acidic or quite acidic, like high on the pH scale. So things like liming, or if the pH is high, using acidifying fertilizers can make it closer to neutral, because Queensland blue will handle closer to neutral ahead of carpet grass. And generally, what you'll find is areas that have carpet grass will often have things like mullumbimby cooch or like sedges, like nut grasses
Yeah.
or yellow nut sedge, and that's also a pH indicator, but also a wet feet indicator. So you'll find it's probably a lot to do with like cultural controls as well, completely getting rid of it.
Yeah, cool.
Um,
A PR 550H. I've not used one. How used is it? Because generally people who sell renovation equipment, they're selling it because it is cactus.
I think the other thing with like Reno, like
That's why you'll never see a used aerator because people use them until they are just dust.
the other thing too, Chris, is check that you can get the tines or that you can do yourself up an aftermarket
It's
real
a
set or
scarified little
something.
dethatcher.
Yeah, check that you can get them or they're easy to get because that's probably the first. If the engine's mechanically okay, that'll be the first thing you want to change.
If you can think of it, I thought you said used. Have I used? No, hooking. That'd be right. They're okay.
What products do you recommend for summer grass, i.e. Digitaria? I was looking at using something like Demolish. If Demolish is like a DSMA, it's going to knock my lawn for a few weeks. I have wintergreen. If it is DSMA, I'm not sure what the active ingredient is. Jason, do you know what the active ingredient of Demolish is? There's so many different trade names of herbicides.
Oh, it's a nightmare, isn't it? Where is it? Yes, DSMA.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
220 grams.
It'll actually, surprisingly, it'll take a couple of applications to knock the blue cooch. Blue cooch is surprisingly resilient, even more so with like this weather. So yeah, it will take a while to come back.
What you do need to be careful of is the DSMA is now a restricted chemical.
Yeah, depending on the concentration. What was it?
220.
That probably is restricted, but you can get the 74 gram per litre.
Which is in David Gray's.
Yeah.
And you might still be able to find some of the Brunnings stuff.
And you can still get that at produce stores, and that's not restricted.
That's not restricted because it's a Schedule 6. The other stuff, the higher dose, is a Schedule 7.
Yeah. So, but it'll work on your summer grass. You just need to probably look at like 2 applications.
Yeah.
2 weeks apart.
The reason it's restricted is DSMA. The A is arsenic.
It probably won't knock your lawn that bad. If you go the right rate and you get the water rate right, it does check your growth a little bit, but it's only when it's really warm, and that's on cooch. But other than that, you should be okay. Just give yourself a good drying window if it's a bit wet.
Yeah.
At least 6 to 8 hours, I'd say.
Nice. Tyson was saying he's got Kaikiu in Buffalo. Just use Buffalo Killer. Wintergrass Killer.
Endothel. Yeah. That's probably your only. Powercheck's probably like one of your best bets. You can also buy Wintergrass Killer is a Amgrow one from Bunnings, and it's the same active ingredient.
It's got a bit of pre-emergent in that too.
Yeah. Oh, you can get another one which is propazemide.
Yeah, right.
And that's a hose on. That's actually a Mun's one, I think.
Yeah.
It's a hose on pack, and if you look at the concentration, it's bang on. You don't even need to mix a liquid one. You can just buy the hose on pack and just get the hose on pack right.
Yeah.
It does it for you.
Flail blades on your, they tend to be a bit coarse because they tend to be quite thick. And because they're flinging, they can rip. They can actually move a lot of dirt. As they go through that, because they can hit and kind of turn sideways and drag up through. So I've always found when I've used like a Bluebird one.
Yeah.
They go okay on buffalo because you don't really want to strike the ground anyway. You want to just go through and thin it out.
What do you have on your Momaster one? Are they 2 mil tine? Tungsten tip tines.
Yeah.
I find that's the cleanest job. Like all like Mowies have them.
It's probably 1.5 mil, 1.4.
Gradens and stuff have them. And if you're getting lower cuts of height, which I know like some of the guys asking questions are, you want a really clean job. Like if you go with something that's like a flower mower, That's almost like that's more for people that never renovate
Yeah.
and you just want to take it down to dirt. But
Yeah.
if you've got a lawn that you want to bring back and you want to have it for, say, Christmas time, you probably just want to like scarify it in a couple of directions. Yeah, take it down to dirt, but still have some live material there.
Yeah. The thin blades and getting into the dirt and fixed blades. Sorry, fixed thin blades because they tend to they get into the dirt and they don't move a lot, but they do cut. You know, they get a nice cut. Whereas the other flail blades tend to be sort of almost like 4 mil thick.
They gouge.
And they gouge out.
And you end up with level. I found like you'd never use one on a golf green. Put it that way.
No.
I found like you definitely use like thin blades because when you go back and top dress, you get way better levels.
Yeah. Yeah. Bluebird. I don't know. I'm not sure what they cost, but you should have a look. Have a look at a Moe. Because the little Moes, the 18-inch ones, scarifiers, they're good. They're a good unit.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's probably like thick as steel too, like.
Oh mate, solid, and the same donk as what my 24-inch one's got. It's
Out of
like
control.
it's like a GX 340 or sort of 270 or something on it.
Any tips how to keep algae from growing on damaged lawn patches after this New South Wales lawn grubs damage heading into winter? Less sun hitting some parts of our lawn.
I think that's part of the issue, Denise, is that you haven't got a lot of sun getting in there to dry out those patches and you'll get algae, but isn't it like chelated iron or something will help that?
Chelated iron will knock it around. The way you feed knocks it around, like a lot of, see it on, it's generally drainage related.
Yeah.
It's weather related, so we've had heaps of rain. A lot of home lawns use a landscape mix, so the soil's very heavy. If you don't have drainage, like sorting the drainage is actually the reason probably what you're seeing on the surface as algae is a drainage, underlying drainage issue. But the rain we've had is unprecedented, so like I wouldn't take your drainage, like I wouldn't look into that too deeply unless you think you need to sort it, like if there's standing water or it's staying boggy. As far as like, I'd normally go cultural fixes ahead of like product fixes initially. So drainage one.
Yeah, for sure.
Solid tine aerating is another one.
Like a pitchfork.
Yep, just raking the surface. Yeah. If there's any branches or any things that you can prune them. Like try to get sun on it. Yeah. And then, so there's your cultural things. And then product things you can look at, like a penetrant. So something that's it's like a really high-end surfactant that's going to spread water and get it off the surface and into your profile. So it'll stop that surface from being moist, which is why the algae's growing. You can get dew suppressants as well, similar kind of action except they stay on the surface for longer periods of time. Yeah. What else? And then, like an iron sulfate at really high rates. Yeah. And it's almost like the iron blackens it, dries it out. Yeah. The other sort of other things that work, whether it's algae or cyanobacteria, like the black looking one. Yeah. Chlortan or like chlorthalonil, it's like a fungicide. That's also a good broad spectrum curative fungicide for.
There's something like Tridem.
Tridem would be good for a preventative action. I'm more thinking of actually deoxygenating the algae. Yeah. So you'd probably mix that with mancozeb, spray that on, and also use a penetrant, and that'll dry that surface out and actually dry the algae out. Yeah. And then it crusts up, and you use a rake it off, and you can also like pitchfork it. So that's on a commercial surface. That'd be like ways that they'd get rid of algae, like some of those ways.
Set up a mirror. Get some sunlight on it.
Scarifier. Dethatching rake.
Physically remove the stuff. Yeah. So if you get a pitchfork, put it in on that like an angle like 45 degrees ish, and then just lean back a little bit so you lift that clod a little bit and crack the surface.
Depending on what grass type you have existing, if it's like buffalo or something, then it's okay because it grows in shade. But if it's like cooch, the reason the algae's growing is probably because it's so shaded and it's not drying out and the cooch is thinning out. But also like other living things inhibit the growth of grasses. So like algae, cyanobacteria, grass will grow into it until you get rid of it. So if you want grass to grow in there or you want to oversow it, try and get rid of it first.
Yeah. Yeah, so physically remove it, and then oversowing could be an option too.
Yeah, if you've
Just
got
like a ryegrass or
yeah,
a fescue or something to keep some vegetation in there.
even plugging it out if you've got a plugger.
Pluggers, love a plugger. Do love a plugger. We had a list of things to talk about, didn't we? So, buffalo, but great. Buffalo, yeah, but great tips for us to say. Yeah, cool. Magic round recovery. So, what are they going to do at Suncorp to get the turf back, ready for another game? Is it? They might have a bye weekend.
I'd say they probably
Were they relay turf, or were they just oversow?
Well,
or
they probably. I would say that they may not, because they had limited attendance last year and over the previous years with COVID. They probably haven't afforded budget to a full relay. But in a normal year, with normal crowd attendances and things like from year to year, post Magic Round, it's probably and leading into like Origin and Wallabies tours and things, and Reds finals and things. It's probably like a full relay of sod, and most stadiums would do that.
It's a celebration, isn't it?
And so what we'd probably see is like a lot of these curators in like, depending on the way the stadium's managed, but a lot of these curators like really getting back to like, pulling the big all the stops out to bring the turf back, like starting like old school greenkeeping, like just throwing the kitchen sink at it. So they've got grow lights. So grow lights are obvious one. But grow lights is going to help. So basically, Suncorp, you've got high stadium sides and probably up till about the 20 to 30 metre line on the northern end. It's like pretty much fully shaded now.
Yeah.
So you get no sun. And so you've basically got to grow grass in no sun. And then you've got grass that's probably pitted back to 20 or 30% cover.
Yeah.
And so they'd probably clean it up. They'd use something like there's a machine called like a Profi hopper. It's kind of it's kind of like a scarifier with a huge vac on the back of it. They'd run that through it and probably clean all the debris and material up.
Yeah. And the chips that are ryegrass that have come out. They'll pick all them up.
And then they'd probably go and mow it with catches on, like with the reel mow it, but maybe set the cut height at like minus 2 millimeters of what they were cutting. And I'd say this time of year they're probably cutting it like
22, 28.
Maybe higher with league, like maybe like 30 mil or something.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And they may lower that to 25 or something.
Because I know when I did that State of Origin thing, they cut it at 17.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there might be.
He lowered the height from 18 to 17, so it'd be faster.
Like if you go to like more open stadiums that stay cooch and go real light, like Seabus, like where the Gold Coast Titans play, like they would cut quite low. They're probably cutting at like 15.
Yeah.
Because it's a predominantly cooch surface. But Suncorp from about March through to November would be predominantly ryegrass. Like cooch would just kind of hold it together. So yeah, they'd probably Profi hopper it. They'd cut it with the catches on. They'd verti drain it, so they'd punch holes in it. And then I'd say they'd top dress it.
Yeah.
Like dust it, and then they'd oversow it again.
Yeah.
And then they'd probably put things like a wetting agent out. They'd also they'd probably put like a biostimulant out to get the seed pushing.
Yeah.
And get the irrigation as wet and as crazy as it sounds, but they've got good drainage. They'd get the irrigation cranking again.
Yeah.
They'd probably also use a preventative fungicide for things like Pythium, so they'd probably put propamacarb out or the likes of that to stop any, because there's existing ryegrass that's weak, and they wouldn't want the seed to get Pythium, the juvenile seed. So I'd say that ryegrass will come up in about, with the lights and the extra heat, about 4 to 5 days.
Yeah.
And in about, if it's a bye week this weekend and next week, it'll be looking pretty good again.
Yeah.
So they got...
Only really need sort of 4 or 5 days to ride it pop.
They would have started, it wouldn't have surprised me, they would have probably started on Sunday night after the game. I know that time of year they pull all-nighters. And
do some crazy things.
It's amazing what those guys do. Like they get to work at 11 o'clock or midday, and they'll work through till like 11 o'clock or midday that night.
Yeah.
Midnight, sorry. So, yeah, so that's probably it. That's probably clean up with the Profi hopper, cut lower than their cutting height, verti drain, top dress, oversow again with ryegrass seed, biostimulants, wetting agent, fungicide,
Yeah.
Irrigate to get it to come up, and then once it's up, start treating it like turf again. Trying to just get as much cover in there. So start cutting again. Probably lift the cutting height back up and jump back into it again.
They're just lunatics and magicians, aren't they? Those guys, some of those guys, just high traffic stadiums who can just produce the goods week in, week out.
Yeah.
Tyson, would you recommend ICL Stress Buster monthly throughout winter to maintain colour, or a liquid iron such as Plant Doctor? Now, Will can't answer that because he works for the company who makes Stress Buster. So I will.
I can answer it.
Well, you can, but
depends what I would say. It depends what Tyson wants to achieve.
Yeah, Plant Doctor will give you a lovely, nice green. The Stress Buster will assist in other ways in reducing the impacts of disease pressure. The liquid iron will do that as well. It'll harden the leaf a little bit, but I think the Stress Buster is probably a slightly better bet for reducing stress on the turf.
Well, I think you can probably...
If it's just about colour, you can go either way.
I would use both.
Yeah.
We've shown in trial work where using an iron product alongside Stress Buster is really good, particularly this time of year, and it's all about getting like vigour in your turf.
Yeah.
And so the Stress Buster, the Stress Buster will help like the pre-stress curses on the plant, but it'll also feed the microbes in the soil, given that it's got sugars in it. But it'll also give the plant sugars when there's less sun, helping it photosynthesize. And then the iron essentially stains the leaf and darkens the plant, so it helps it photosynthesize even more. So you can actually do both, basically. I would put both out.
Yeah, at full rates?
No, you could go like...
Full rate of the Stress Buster.
You could go 200 to 300 mils of Stress Buster monthly, and then every other 2 weeks go your iron.
But like a low, not full rate.
I'm not. What are the rates for the Plant Doctor iron?
Yep.
100 to 200 mils or something.
I think it's 100 to 400 or something.
Yeah. So just pick middle of the range.
Yeah.
And do that alternating. So you'd go like Stress Buster then iron, and what you'll find is your plant will just be like this consistent green color. You won't get like a drop and a tail, because iron is really it's essentially like if you were to tissue test the turf plant, and look at tissue tests against different rates of iron, and as the rate of iron goes up, will it have more iron in there? The answer is no. Essentially what you're doing is you're staining the outside of the leaf black with iron sulfate.
Yeah.
And so depending on how dark you want it will be how much you're staining the plant.
It's 150 to 400 mil.
Yeah, I'd just go at like 200 mil per 100 square meters of that. And then every other 2 weeks go like 300 mil of Stress Buster, and you'll find that your plant will be so much better off for it.
Yeah, 200 per 100. Yeah, that's it. There was another question up here. Oh, don't do that. Gone funny now. What have I done? Well, yeah, that's it. So yeah, Benny doesn't work for ICL, loves it. There you go, it is a little happy dance. So, yeah. Alright, back to our list. We are up to, well, we've covered mostly sports. We don't want to talk about the Reds. They got polled by 100. No,
Yeah.
not really, but yeah. Disease pressure at the moment, there's huge disease pressure, particularly in southeast Queensland. Humid days, humid overnight, rain, the temperatures haven't really dropped yet.
We've had a melting pot of, it's really interesting time.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
We haven't had weather like this at this time of year for, I can remember as a really young fella in moving to Brisbane. We lived out in the Lockyer Valley and moving to Brisbane, and it was 1994, and that was the last time I can remember it rained like this much in like winter time, or like fringe or into winter time. So it's pretty rare to have this much rain at this time of year.
Oh, yeah.
And so like the kinds of diseases your lawns are gonna get are gonna be pretty outrageous for the time of year. Like I think on the weekend it was perfect weather for Rhizoctonia.
Yeah.
Which is normally it happens more in the storm season in southeast Queensland. Pythium, like it was so humid And
Elmo.
yeah, helmet sporing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's
like
just
you've
so
seen
wet.
so many photos. What's wrong with my grass? It's got
A lot of people
black
are
stuff right
saying
around
a
it.
lot of people are saying dollar spot, but a lot of it is helmet sporing.
Yeah.
And when it dries out, it'll probably just grow out.
There is a lot of dollar spot.
But there's heaps of dollar
Yeah.
spot, and it is just because it's so the moisture is just staying because there's so much cloud cover.
Yeah.
Dew and stuff is just staying on the leaf like all
Yep.
day. I remember when I first started working for SGRI, back in when they got set up in like the 30s by the Gulf Union, over years and years of research, they said that 80% of your disease could be controlled by keeping moisture off the immediacy of the surface of greens and things. And so they said the simple effort of dew brushing or dew whipping, they have these big long like fiberglass things that they whip over the surface, does most of your disease control.
And that's like running the rope around in the outfield in the cricket.
Yeah.
That's just basically to the stuff that's on the leaf. If you whip through it, it sort of kind of joins together and makes a bigger droplet, and the bigger droplet when it comes down
Drops on the soil. Yeah, it's not on the leaf anymore because humidity and moisture on the external of the leaf creates the perfect condition for the disease. And so if you can avoid it, then
Gary says feeding his seemed to help. It does, mate. It's one of the cultural things you can do to relieve stress on your turf.
It's a bit weird, the whole feeding thing too. Like, if it is definitely dollar spot or down south, you might see things like anthracnose and that, and definitely like nitrogen's going to help just grow it out. But if we had like the weekend we did and you've got like a cool season grass or something and it's Pythium and you go and feed it, you're hiding.
You're feeding the
feeding the disease. Yeah. It's going to get worse. But definitely like if you did treat with a fungicide and you see the grass to like look better for it, it's actually a really good time of year to feed.
Yeah.
And look at something that's a bit lower in nitrogen. And it doesn't have to be high potassium. It just has to have, I'd say, potassium in it because the plant can only take up potassium in relativity to the nitrogen that you're giving it.
Yeah.
And also how your soil buffers it. But I think with all the rain, it's going to have leached unless you've used like something that's stayed in your soil profile for a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of what you've put out will have probably leached and you won't have nutrition sitting there. And so like it's going to create an even more like conducive environment for disease because the plant's weak. There's so much humidity, it's so wet. There's like nutrition's limiting, temperatures are lower and the plant can't grow. So you got to give it something.
Yeah, so if you have an outbreak of something like dollar spot in summer, just foliar feed it and you can really help it. But in winter, not really going to do a huge amount. It might help, but
up here it'll help a little bit, but not hugely. You'll probably see the scars hang in for a while until the plant just slowly grows out of it.
Benny, the amazing Benny, would like to know how the Tahoma held up.
I was actually saying to Len
we
today,
had a chat about it before.
It hasn't got any disease where it hasn't been trafficked.
Yeah.
So, and the only real disease it's got, and I think it's because of like leaf breakages and compaction, is like a bit of leaf spot.
Yep.
There's no dollar spot in it. It's just wet. There is a little bit of helminth sporium up the top in the shade, which is you're only going to get that with the wet.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Gary says Dave's farm was 30 days underwater over the last period of time, and it's no disease at all.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I think all grasses. I did the legwork with prep on it. You know, a lot of grasses will handle a lot of stuff if you do your preparation right. Bear in mind too, like if you look at my Tahoma, it's on a slope, so it doesn't get standing water.
No.
Whereas if someone builds like a perfectly square backyard and it's like perfectly flat and they haven't put the drainage underneath, where's the water going? It's just gonna sit there.
Yeah.
So you definitely like, I've got a good K site for like pretty low disease.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought I did, but I don't.
Yeah.
Well,
it's pretty heavy or existing site soil as well.
It's pretty ashy too.
And it's shady.
There's a lot of old power station ash
Yeah.
from Swanbank back in the day. Back in the, when was this place built? In the 1960s, I think, something like that.
So this is a litmus test for how well a grass handles disease.
Yeah.
You know, like putting something in here.
And latitude 36 is not good for my conditions.
Yeah. It's interesting, like zoysias seem to handle it.
Yeah.
Like they definitely handle it because you look at where they're from, they're like low cloud cover, but a lot of people are seeing dollar spot in their zoysia. But then a lot of people have been told in the marketing material and the info to not feed their zoysia.
Yeah.
So they've done the right thing, but then have they done the right thing? So I actually have seen in winter, especially with the wet in zoysia, you get pythium.
Yeah, right.
It's a growth rate thing. I find you get pythium pretty.
This needs to grow it out, and it can't because it
Yeah,
doesn't
it can't
grow.
because it can't grow it out. So yeah, I've often seen through Brisbane winters, or what, in the last few years, I've seen a few people have pythium. It's always like, what's this yellowing? And I'm talking more japonica than Matrella.
Yeah.
But it starts as that, and then it tracks, and you get these big straight lines of, and then you get rust and things as well because it's not photosynthesizing. So like, we've got the perfect storm for disease on the east coast, really.
We do really. It's pretty bloody phenomenal.
Michelle's just going to be worked off her feet, really.
The fanatics are giving her a couple of years worth of work ahead of her already.
Thank goodness for Leninas. No.
Yeah, she's a busy girl, that Michelle.
It'll be, hindsight will be a beautiful thing though, because like 2 years from now we'll probably be like so dry.
Well, that's
once
true.
the pattern changes.
Well, that's true, yeah. And today I said at this conference thing, I said that the economical use of water is going to be a huge thing in the future for gardeners and lawnies.
I think so.
Because water is going to be very expensive.
Yeah.
Governments don't seem to invest in the infrastructure of water too much. And when they do it badly, like desal plants and stuff. But water's going to be expensive to use. So the most economical use of water we can do is going to be a benefit to all. But that's the same in any product. Just the push is to get more out of the product. We're using less of the product, less resources in the manufacture of the product, and have less impact on the environment. And at every one of those stages.
I think what's really interesting about water use in turf is I conventionally find when people a lot of issues to turf are related around like how the soil is constructed, but then a lot of like the long term issues that get caused is all to do with watering. Oftentimes you find with like higher end greenkeepers or like people that really want to look after their lawn, they water too much.
Yeah.
Like they well overwater, and then people that don't have the quality lawn, they underwater. And I find like if people went on BOM and looked at like ET rates and stuff, like evapotranspiration, which is water loss from the leaf.
Evapotranspiration, this should be good for the night.
And you did just a basic catch can. Doesn't matter what kind of sprinkler you use, if it's hand shift or whatever, and you put out a couple of tuna tins and measured like how much water you're actually putting on your surface.
Yep.
And then you looked at your BOM and said, I want to put on whatever that ET is across the week. Like if it's 30 mil across that week and you say, I want to put on 50% of that, you only put on 15 millimeters for that week. And that's if you don't get rain. And if you get rain in that week and you get 10, you only have to put 5 on. You might just go, it's not even worth putting water on. What you'll find is like your water bill will go from, if it's like, $300-400 a quarter, you'll halve it.
Yeah.
And it's just by being smart with
Maybe we should do that with, let's do that with the sports fields that look after. We'll do a catch can test on that and we'll film it and go through the ET and...
Yeah, well, let's do that. I think... at some point it's going to go dry, but even when it's wet, you still got to use water more effectively, because what I've found is, I think I watered for the first couple of weeks when I established my lawn. Yeah. And I haven't watered since. Yeah. Because I've just been looking at the rain going, if I water now and I'll waste might be $6 or whatever for that water. It sounds like I'm tight, but then I'm like, but I'm gonna get like 30 mil next week. Just leave it and let it rain.
Yep.
And that's when I pro plugged it the other day. I had roots that were like 150 mil.
Yeah.
Because the plant
has gone seeking that water that's gone through your profile.
Yeah.
I don't have many tuna tins because I'm not a cat really, so. Jason, he's a tool fan.
Perfect.
He's got about 700 bloody cylinder miles too. He's moved out to Wellington Point.
There you go. Chris just posted recent evapotranspiration. So you can wherever you live in Australia, you can click on that link. But you can even like type in your postcode. It'll take you to your nearest town or whatever, and you'll be able to look at what the evap is. And like recently, it's probably been nothing because it's so humid. There is like moisture in the sky. It's like 2 millimeters or whatever.
It's probably even -10.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too. Like, what can your soil carry? Like, does the rain we've had, how long are you not going to have, if it went dry tomorrow and dried out for indefinitely for the next 10 weeks, when would you need to turn the water back on?
Yeah.
And I think that's what, as like a backyard lawn fanatic greenkeeper, you need to look at.
Yeah.
Because if you can work out that there's a point where your turf almost gets to wilting between waters, and then you water, and that period of time, like on average, is like 3 weeks or something. You'll find you'll have a way healthier plant. It'll be cheaper on your hip pocket, and when you do things to your lawn, you'll get so much more bang for your buck.
Yeah. Well, really, it's only rained twice this year. Once was February, for the whole of February.
Once was February till May.
Yeah. The second one was mid-April till mid-May.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I'm glad we had this last week of rain too, because the mud was starting to dry out.
Yeah.
Benny Cameron used to overwater. He'll admit it. He's admitted to a lot of things, that man. I got onto some quality soil water last season and got the sprinkler out once all season. I know it wasn't a dry summer, but like you said, let it chase the water some too. Yeah, let it sink down, sink its roots and go and seek it out. Honestly, I haven't turned the redneck gear on at all.
Yeah.
Not since. I don't even think maybe once to put water in some granular. Water in a celebrant, and that's it.
The other thing too is like I think people want to get back on their lawns. It's been so wet. People want to get outside and do things. Like probably I wouldn't even put a mower on my lawn at the moment.
No.
The only thing I'd be looking at doing is like walking it with a fork and forking it or something.
Yeah.
And then I just let it get long, and then
it'll be right. Just let it get long.
And when people have that conversation, like if at home, your other half's going, "Oh, you're spending too much on water." There are ways you can deal with it. Obviously, like trying to use less water, but then even like the way you manage your lawn, you can let your lawn get a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And it'll use less water.
Yeah. And if you sneakily just deposit 10 or 15, $20 a week into pay your water bill in advance.
Oh yeah.
When the water bill comes and it's really small.
Yeah.
You're a hero.
Yeah. That, or
you're like a national hero.
Good quality wetting agent as well will help.
Well, we've said that time and time again. That's 20, 30, sometimes 40% of your water bill can be just purely in bloody soil wetters alone, saving you money.
I found that like on 100 square meters, like if you bought even 1 litre will do 100 square meters for 10 months at 100 mil per, and that 1 litre might cost you $30 or $40 or whatever.
Yeah.
If you looked at that cost, like the expenditure versus the water savings, it'll be it's oftentimes it's like a 5 to 1 payback. So for every dollar you spend on wetting agent, you're going to get $5 paid back on water savings.
Yeah, water tanks are a good idea, but you don't get a huge amount out of them if you are solely relying on a water tank.
Yeah. Yep. But I think it can
We did
negate.
the math once, and it was like a 5,000 litre tank was only good for like 2 waterings or something.
Yeah,
and that
well,
was it.
Yeah, well, so 100 square meters, 10 mil on
Yeah.
that is 1,000 liters.
Yeah.
And so 50 mil. So in the height of summer, if it was dry for like 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and you had to put about an inch on a week, you'd use it in 2.
Yeah.
25 mil would do 2,500 liters, 2,500 liters the following week.
Per 100 square metres.
But the difference is, and I've looked at the math of this, you'll get rain events.
Yeah.
And so like you might use 2,500, get a rain event, and then not have to use 2,500 the following week, and your tank's been filled back up. So like, overall, like it does end up saving you.
Yeah.
It's just the math of what's my lawn surface area or my irrigatable area, is it worth?
Up the farm, we got 3 tanks that are like 27,000 litres.
Yeah.
And one that's about 18, and they're all full.
Yeah.
That's how much it's rained. Like there is crappy guttering
Yeah.
on all the roofs at the farm.
Yeah.
But there's still been enough rain to fall and catch in the crappy guttering and fill up all the tanks.
Yeah.
Over full.
Well, the footy club I help out at, they got 100,000 litres of tank water, and they think it's a lot. And then when I explain to them what the surface area of the field is, and when you switch on the
It's about a
irrigation,
hectare, isn't it?
it's 1.86 hectares.
1.86.
Yeah, it's an Aussie rules ground.
Yeah.
And so when
and my fields are like 0.9 of a hectare.
when they water for a 45-minute cycle,
Yeah.
it puts on about 5.5 mil, and that empties the 100,000 litre tank.
Yeah.
You know, because 5.5 mil on 18,600 square meters is about 100,000 liters.
Yeah.
You know, so and they don't do the math in their head, and you do the math, and you're like, it's almost pointless to have a tank that small.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it
Well,
doesn't achieve anything.
Yeah, where I'm at Kenmore, they got a whopping great big tank there, and it's in the wrong spot. It's a terrible location for it, but they I'm not sure how much it is, but it'd be 150,000 litres probably.
The
But
challenge.
it's a big tank, and they've got it on trickle feed from the mains if it needs topping up.
Yeah.
But then it's the level set, so if it rains, it overflows real quick anyway. Like on the catch, what it catches on goes in, and it's full.
Because it's really the way those float settings work. It's silly because they set the float really high because they want it to be able to run through an irrigation cycle. Because the tank doesn't hold enough water to run through an irrigation cycle.
No.
So they lift the float right up.
Yeah.
And then it's trickle feeding town water the whole time. So you end up just spending, like, the whole expenditure of the irrigation system at these community clubs is all town water.
Yeah.
There's barely any tank water.
Any
Yeah.
water.
So it's like kind of pointless.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Nelson's got 500,000 litres, half a gig, bro.
Yeah, and that's, that's
Half a meg.
that's bang on,
Yeah, half a meg. Jeez, that's all right. You were saying before just about don't worry about mowing your lawn.
Just don't do anything.
Just don't do anything.
Just have a break.
And I saw, okay, so we're next to a soccer club, and in February, I went and did an inspection and went, look, it's just too wet. The grass was pretty long by that stage, but the ground was still squashy.
Yeah.
And the guy who does the soccer field started mowing, and he mowed it both directions to get his grass down. And he came and saw me a week later and said, I've got all these ruts all over my ground and it's all uneven now. What can I do? Nothing.
Yeah.
Too late.
Yeah.
You should have left it for another week.
Yeah.
And then mow.
Yeah. It's not like once.
But that's similar with a rotary mower.
Yeah.
You'll push your rotary across the lawn and you'll give yourself ruts.
Yeah, you get little wheel ruts.
So just do nothing.
Probably
Once it's dried out a bit, it's grass, it'll be right.
You'll find where you rut, you'll get tracking as well. Like it'll compact, but that's if you do have disease or any disease ready to flare up, that's where you get disease straight away.
Yeah.
In your tracking, because that's where you've stressed your turf, you've compacted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't matter if it gets too long. You can cut it down bit by bit.
100%.
Yeah,
Especially this time of year, it's not going to get away.
It's not going to get away, but even if it gets 4 inches long, cut it down to 3 inches, and then a couple of days later cut it down to 2. once it's dried out.
On like sports field growings, like if you grow a sports field in from sprigs, you actually let the turf get quite long.
Yeah.
Like you let it get long to get roots in, because when it starts to get roots in, and then you cut it, you've got a bigger plant.
Yeah.
And it actually will spread stolons more quickly.
Yeah, right.
And so you almost have like, you have that initial period where you sprig it, you let it take, you put the water on, you leave it for like 4 or 5 weeks, let it grow to like a longer plant, and then you start cutting into it. And it's a way better plant for it. Plus, you're not going to damage your surface while you're tracking mowers and stuff on it.
Yeah, because if you're sprigging in a sports field, you've just paid a lot of money
for levels.
For levels, to have it all leveled out, have all the irrigation done right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's just plant physiology. You let it get longer, the roots go longer, and then when you cut it down, the roots shorten.
Yeah. So there you go. Well, I suppose it's the iceberg thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bigger the iceberg on top, bigger the roots underneath, and this. I don't know.
It is amazing.
That could have been all.
Some of these new lawn grasses come out though. They, like all these new cooch hybrids, they seem to have grown themselves. Like they'll get to a certain height
and stop,
and then they'll stop.
Yeah.
Like Tiff Tough, Tahoma, they don't grow much longer than like 150 odd mil. Like
no, they don't seem to, do they? Like, I noticed. We were talking to Simon from LSA.
Yeah.
And he was saying when they had the floods last year down in Windsor, there was like a little creek, and it had washed out, and there was like a land bridge of tip tough.
Oh yeah.
All the dirt had washed away underneath it, and the roots were 1.8 metres deep.
Yeah.
It's like, that is just amazing.
When they did this, like that eco-turf collection, like UQ, they collected all these cooch grasses around Australia. There was these cooch grasses they found in WA in the sandy soil over there.
Yeah.
Had rhizomes that were up to 3 metres deep.
Wow.
They just kept diving, trying to find water.
Yeah.
Because you look at like the original plant material from all the cooch types, it's all sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
Like just south of the Mediterranean. Really dry, arid climate. And so you got this plant that what it's supposed to do is set really deep root systems.
Yeah.
And then rely on like a really, like it might be a short wet season during winter.
Yeah.
To get all its water.
Yeah.
And then it uses these big rhizome carbohydrate stores that then it kind of goes almost like into this dormancy.
Yeah, it's
and
like
it
a summer dormancy.
Gets it through summer. And then it waits for that next winter again. It's crazy.
Man, I've got to do something with my lawn. It's really annoying me. There's so many broadleaf weeds that have popped up this last week just because I can't get a mower on it.
Hamweed?
Yeah, well, I still got the Aussie Blue hanging around that we plugged in from Gibbo's lawn. So that needs to die.
Do you want the Aussie Blue though?
No, really. I don't like that. I don't like, well, yeah, no, I prefer the hybrid greens.
Do you would you go as Zoysia?
Yeah, I would, yeah. In this climate, in my
I think
Zoysia
would be perfect for you. We've seen it out the back. That's amazing, that little patch of Zoysia.
Yeah, it's got a bit of algae on it at the moment, but that's the area that doesn't get any sun.
Thing. Yeah.
Doesn't get any sun.
Well, me being me, like I've got Surg Range, and I did what everyone tells you not to do and oversowed it with ryegrass.
Yeah, that's right.
Just to be an idiot.
Yeah,
and
because you do.
What I'm probably going to do is, I want to see if I can bring it back out, and if I get impatient, I'll just replace it with some new Zoysia. I'll ask LSA, and I might go like Prima. It's just something interesting, like. But what I want to do is lay it washed. I don't want to lay it with soil material, because I have a feeling, like I did all this prep work, and then I have a feeling that like, it's got nothing on the grass, moisture, like things. Consumables, everything was getting caught in that like top silty layer, and so there was nothing like making those roots push into the underlying soil.
Yeah.
So if I can lay it washed and then get it growing in the underlying soil, I think that'll be massive for it. Yeah,
well, we might see if we can have a chat to a few of the turf mobs and see what we can do about some Zoysia.
Oh yeah.
And we'll Zoy's up.
Zoy's up.
Zoy. Craig. Hello, Craig. alternating between bumper and heritage max, is you believe soil can build up tolerance to a specific type of fungicide.
No, it's not. It's not tolerance.
It's like you consistently taking the same antibiotic. The disease that you're fighting will build up an immunity to that. So, if you've got a dollar spot or something, and you can keep going at the same fungicides all the time, the disease will adapt to that and get around it.
Yeah. What's a good preventative strategy?
Posterity
if
dollar spot.
It looks like
probably
he's
posterity.
trying to treat dollar spot.
Yeah.
If that's what he's trying to treat, it depends what disease he's trying to treat.
Yeah.
If it is dollar spot, and then spring dead spot, then posterity's bang on for that.
Yeah.
If it's something else,
Biggreenshake.com.au.
yeah. If it's something else and you're not sure what it is, then first check with Michelle Dickinson, and then get it ID.
Yeah.
And then you'll get the proper advice
Is
for the right. Yeah. Okay.
Probably posterity, because it's
Well,
it's curative and preventative, and
Yeah.
it's really that's what it's designed to do.
Yeah.
Posterity. Yeah. I sell it in my shop, Craig. Biggreenshake.com.au.
Massive.
Carmelo. Hello, Carmelo. Recently seen a few grubs at the surface of my lawn. Lawn looks good. Am I likely to have heaps down below? Like armyworm? Or is it curl grub?
Or is it earthworm?
Earthworm.
If it is armyworm, which are like the little
Caterpillars with like two sort of black dotted lines
like
along them.
green and black, and
Yeah.
they're just like little
Curl grub.
curl grub, so the white
Right.
curl grub.
So
Your best bet, well,
it's all about timing of application for those, isn't it?
I'd say your best bet, they'll be overwintering now, but your best bet now, if you wanted to treat them, is actually use something like a bifenthrin
Yeah.
and irrigate it into
Wash
your...
it in.
Yeah, like bifenthrin, and it's crazy washing in when it's been so wet.
Yeah.
Wait for it to dry out, because they're probably not going to do a huge amount of damage, because they're not going to be massively actively feeding at the moment. So yeah, if you're worried about them, treat with bifenthrin. Wait till it dries out. Bifenthrin with a wetting agent.
Yeah.
Order it in.
So, but longer term, mate, aceleprant is bang on for those guys. But the timing of the application, you've got to get it down at the start of September, so that it's residual in the soil and residual in the plant for their hatching time, which is October, November. So aceleprant is effective against curl grub in their first 2 stages of life. After that, doesn't work.
You need a contact like bifenthrin.
Yeah.
And so
timing of application for aceleprant at the start of September covers you for when they do hatch, and then once they're hatched, they're gone.
And rate.
And the rate is important. So go down at the high end of the label for your first application, which is 1.5 kilos per 100 squares for the granular.
Yep.
And liquid's 15 mils.
15 mil. Which both those, our Big Green Shed.
Yep. Sell them both. Yep.
Yep.
And then you can get away with half rate around Australia Day, but I don't bother. I just go full rate both times. So and they say it will last up to 6 months. I give it 5 because I don't want to have any slack time.
For me, I use a Celiprin at those timings, and I always keep a like a cleanup insecticide just handy.
Yeah.
Because
just in case.
There are times where you get extremely high pressure.
Yeah.
Particularly of armyworm.
Yeah.
So yeah, but generally, yeah, you see problems with armyworm.
We're going to do that now, aren't we?
If that initial application wasn't applied early enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thanks, Matt, for reminding us, because we kind of forgot. And for armyworm, leave it for 24 hours before watering. You can do, if you've got active armyworm, there is a contact. It does have a contact, kill on contact property. It's not as effective as like a bifenthrin, I suppose, but does a renovation, say in October, affect an aceleprant application in September? No.
No.
Because it sucks up into the plant.
And it's also got a soil residual. Because when you renovate, if you're taking cores and you're scarifying and you might remove soil, you might only remove like 3 to 5% of your soil total. So you're probably moving 3 to 5% of what that active ingredient
Well,
is.
that's the same as your barricade.
Yeah.
Your predominant application. They say that your Reno doesn't affect it.
No, doesn't really.
So
because also your tines and things aren't getting to that depth. Like you're going deeper than your hollow tines are.
Yeah.
But the percentage of surface area effect is limited.
Yeah.
You know, like you might only have to do a bit of hand weeding because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're the Tahoma 31 comp. So thank you very much to Dave and the guys at Tahoma 31 Tahoma Australia for bunging on this comp. It's just fantastic. It's been great. We've gone half a lap of the map so far. We've got Queensland to go, and we'll start that one tonight if I remember to put it up. Yeah.
Do you want me to read out the winner?
It's unbelievable that they're giving away 200 square metres to deliver to your front, up to 200 metres to deliver to your front door. That's unbelievable. Yep, read it out.
It's a huge... So the winner is...
Yep, do it.
Scott Samuels.
Scotty Samuels!
And so his answer to the quiz, and it wasn't really a quiz, it's just that his was interesting. And his answer was, well, the people have spoken. In response to a narrow victory over Mrs. Artificial Turf at a recent leadership challenge, Mr. Natural Grass has made an election promise. This lawn will be torn up so that it can once again serve the people in its electorate, assuming the right party wins. Vote 31, Fix My Grass Party, Tahoma Electorate, Canberra. Written and spoken by Scott Samuels on behalf of Mr. Natural Grass for the Fix My Grass Party, Canberra. So, timely. We've got the election coming up this weekend.
Is that him?
That is him.
That
and
he's got one?
Yep. And he's got Warney in his cover pick. So, how good. Scott Samuels. If you're not watching, we'll get on to you. Massive win, 200 square metres, and he'll be able to do his front and back because he says after that he's got 70 out the front and 130 out the back, so a bit of a mullet happening there. Lawn mullet. And so he's going to have enough to do his whole lawn, front and back. Amazing.
That's cool. That is so cool. Studied at University of New South Wales. No, not you, Harley. I'm not looking at your profile. There we go, this guy. But hi, Harley. How you going?
So, yeah, that's massive. He's got a cool bird on his cover pic.
Yeah.
We're face stalking him now and telling you what's happening. Commentating.
Looks like he's got a beard going.
Looks like a good bloke. Probably a little bit like Benny Cameron, actually.
Yeah, good looking rooster.
Probably his brother or something, long lost brother or something.
No, good on him. That's great. Lives in Canberra. There you go. So
huge win.
It'll be a
perfect place for Tahoma.
Yeah.
Especially if you got the boys to deliver it to your door at October, November.
Yeah.
Prepped your lawn.
Yeah.
Got it delivered. Laid it.
Yeah.
Had all summer. Let it grow in. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Spot on.
This is exciting.
Nice. All right. So Queensland. As soon as the post goes up, you can start entering.
We'll probably announce it next carpet grass or the one after that.
We'll probably let it go for
month and a half or 2 months. Or something. Month.
No.
Yeah, well, that's only 2 carpet grass clubs.
Yeah, no, the Queensland one will go until not this weekend, but the weekend after.
Yeah, right.
So, not this weekend, which is like the 21st or something like that. It'll go to the 28th. So it'd be the Saturday night.
Scott Samuels, what did I miss, mate?
What did I miss, mate?
You missed that you just won the Tahoma comp, mate. You've won yourself 200 square metres of turf. How good. That cool. Is awesome. So
yeah, well done, mate.
Delivered whenever you want it to your door in Canberra.
Yeah, nice. So I'll message you, Scott, and I'll put you in touch with Dave from Tahoma, and you guys can work out when you're going to get the turf, and yeah.
If you need help with prep, like as far as like how to do it or what to do,
Yeah.
we're here.
Know. We're here.
I've done it.
You always got a Scotty. You got to get his Scotty resto sorted. Yes, you do. You got winter. You got a couple of months there of winter, freezing your bum off in the shed in Canberra to get it ready.
Yeah, I'd say probably look to lay it in like November.
Yeah.
Just once it warms up, give yourself plenty of warm weather, and then give yourself like at least a couple of months of prep time. So September, October, prepping.
Yeah. Bugger off, Gary. He's got to restore our mail first.
That's massive. It's going to be awesome for Canberra, I reckon.
Yeah, it'd be a good test to its winter properties and its ability to go in and out of dormancy quick. So yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
Nice. So Queensland, you're up next, starting tonight. Thank you again, Wal, for coming over.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, guys, for having me.
And slim well soon, Gibbo.
Scarify yourself.
Scarify yourself, buddy. Thanks always to Homer31 for putting on that comp. It's amazing. Thanks to the guys who support us. Is Plant Doctor, Lawn Hub, Water Pro, Lawn Care Supplies, and our Big Green Shed, where your discount code is AUSLF in capital letters.
Massive. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. We're still on.